Listen closely, my acolytes, to the fracturing ice of Fenris. It is not merely frozen water shattering, but the heavy cage of eternity groaning under unimaginable weight. Beneath this absolute zero slumbers a titan of the forgotten era, a mechanical beast trapped in a glorious nightmare of endless war and silent sorrow. Behold, the dreadnought sarcophagus, an ancient prison forged from adamantium and unwavering duty. Inside rests a soul that has witnessed the stars themselves burn to nothingness. That single, crimson optical sensor illuminates the darkness, piercing through 10 millennia of shadows. It remembers an age when demigods walked proudly among mortal men. To awaken him is to disturb the sacred slumber of a living myth. We do not perform this ritual lightly, for his waking brings ancient grief. His legendary talon, True Claw, sparks with raw, untamed energy. It twitches, eager to tear reality asunder, just as it did during the legendary Great Crusade. The heavy exhaust vents exhale clouds of promethium ash and frozen breath. This grand machine breathes, a terrifying monument of mechanical resurrection standing before us. Every heavy servo movement produces a mournful, grinding sound. It is a harsh symphony of grinding gears and shattered ceramics, echoing the tragedy of survival. The glowing runes upon his battered hull tell tales of impossible victories. They are permanent scars of loyalty, engraved deeply into his enduring metallic shell. He stands tall once more, an imposing colossus rising from a frozen grave. The surrounding tech priests bow their heads, entirely overwhelmed by his ancient majesty. The mighty dreadnought lowers its towering gaze upon the assembled brethren. His voxcaster crackles with heavy static, preparing to unleash words older than our civilization. A sudden blast of pressurized heat scatters our sacred vellum records. Even his mere physical presence commands absolute dominance over the surrounding frozen environment. Every thunderous footstep shatters the solid stone beneath him. He carries the unbearable weight of an entire legion's legacy upon his broad, unyielding adamantium shoulders. Observe the deep gouges and scorched ceramite on his front plating. These are not mere damages, but glorious badges earned in countless apocalyptic cosmic engagements. He raises the crackling talon into the freezing air, silently declaring his return. The atmosphere grows heavy with the grim promise of impending righteous retribution. I, your humble archivist, record these visions within the sanctum of oaths. We must meticulously document his awakening, lest we lose our most vital history. My trembling hands trace the sacred ink across ancient vellum. The shadows dance violently around me, terrified of the colossal truth I am about to write. This text shall preserve the burden of our most revered ancestor. It is a heavy duty to chronicle the endless twilight of his mechanical existence entirely. We are but fleeting dust particles suspended in a timeless, uncaring void. Yet his metal cage ensures that our glorious past will never truly fade away. Look upon this decaying fresco, my acolytes, and understand his origin. Before the armored sarcophagus, he was a majestic wolf hunting among the celestial stars. I confirm this to be the definitive record of Bjorn the Fell-Handed. He is the eldest operational warrior remaining within the entire Imperium today. His mechanical chassis endures as a walking relic of unyielding devotion. To speak his venerable name is to invoke the glorious legacy of Fenris itself. Our fragile mortal lifespans are but fleeting sparks before his monumental existence. He anchors our drifting present firmly to a magnificent, forgotten past. Cast your minds back, loyal acolytes, to the glorious dawn of the 31st millennium. It was a time of galactic conquest and unprecedented cosmic expansion. In those monumental days, Bjorn walked upon real flesh and bone legs. He marched proudly beneath the towering shadow of his divine genetic father. Beside the majestic Primarch Leman Russ, he carved a path of righteous fury across countless alien worlds. Their brotherhood was forged in unyielding battle. They were an unstoppable tempest of absolute destruction sweeping across the stars. Enemies of mankind simply vanished before their synchronized, overwhelming tactical assaults. His combat prowess earned him the highest honors imaginable among the space wolves. He fought with the untamed ferocity of a true Fenrisian predator. The mighty Wolf King recognized a kindred spirit within this fierce warrior. He trusted Bjorn entirely with duties of immense strategic and spiritual importance. Yet the golden age of the Great Crusade was horribly fractured by treachery. The galaxy burned as brother turned violently against loyal brother. Amidst the unthinkable chaos of the Horus heresy, our chapter faced devastating trials. It was a dark time when heroes fell like autumn leaves. The ultimate tragedy struck when the glorious Leman Russ departed into the chaotic warp. He left his beloved legion behind to brave the incoming darkness. Grievously damaged in righteous combat, his shattered biological form could fight no longer. Yet his indomitable spirit absolutely refused to surrender to the void. Our most skilled iron priests encased his fading body within adamantium armor. They bound his eternal soul to a colossal mechanical chassis of pure destruction. Thus, the majestic fallen warrior was reborn as an immortal dreadnought. He traded his mortal flesh for unbreakable ceramite and a destiny of unending service. He became the first great wolf, guiding his lost brothers through the grim aftermath. His mechanized voice commanded absolute authority across the freezing domain. But the immense burden of command and centuries of continuous warfare weighed heavily. The stasis crypts called to him with a promise of cold silence. Only during the most dire apocalyptic threats would we dare to disturb him. He slumbers to preserve his ancient mind from total degrading madness. Millennia passed like fleeting shadows across the frozen mountains of Fenris. Entire stellar empires rose to magnificent power and violently crumbled into forgotten dust. While humanity slowly withered away, the sleeping giant waited patiently in the dark. He remained a silent guardian, dreaming of a universe finally at peace. To comprehend his glorious endurance, you must first understand the miraculous machinery binding his fading soul. Our iron priests maintain his adamantium sarcophagus with zealous devotion. Thick metallic cables pump sacred coolants directly into his burning plasma reactor core continuously. Every humming piston operates as a mechanical prayer to the Omnissiah. The formidable True Claw acts as a physical extension of his righteous fury. Its disruptive energy fields whine loudly, ready to shatter any heretical armor completely. Mindless servitors tirelessly haul heavy bolter ammunition belts to his massive assault cannon systems. The complex loading mechanisms lock each explosive shell into perfect alignment. Advanced optical sensors calculate optimal firing trajectories within microseconds. His tactical cogitators process incoming battlefield data faster than any mortal commander could ever dream possible. Interlocking layers of blessed ceramite and plasteel shield his fragile biological remnants entirely. This mobile fortress effortlessly shrugs off artillery strikes that would vaporize ordinary infantry. Contrast our holy engineering with the foul sorcery of the Thousand Suns. Azek Ahriman weaves unnatural warp energies to distort physical reality itself into terrifying shapes. He commands mindless automatons known as rubric marines. They are merely hollow suits of corrupted power armor, driven entirely by trapped dust and heretical incantations. Their cursed inferno bolters fire magically infused mass reactive bolts. These unnatural projectiles bypass conventional defenses, burning both physical matter and spiritual essence with green warp flames. To counter such blasphemy, our Wolf Guard utilize ancient storm shields. Heavy generators inside the metal frame project overlapping kinetic barriers against the chaotic onslaught consistently. The volatile energy fields collide furiously. Sizzling ozone fills the freezing air as ceramite plating effectively absorbs the terrifying thermal shock of incoming hostile munitions. Hovering servo skulls relentlessly transmit encrypted atmospheric telemetry to Bjorn. The ancient dreadnought instantly processes these atmospheric variables to calibrate his massive assault cannons perfectly. Deafening roars erupt from his twin-linked weapons. Hundreds of depleted uranium shells tear through the icy atmosphere, creating a devastating wall of supreme physical destruction. High-explosive mass-reactive rounds detonate violently inside the hollow enemy armor. The heretical dust containment is completely breached, scattering the trapped sorcerous entities into the freezing wind. When heavy munitions are exhausted, close quarters engagement begins. The humming disruptor fields of True Claw effortlessly shear through corrupted plasteel like a hot blade through snow. Such precise violence requires flawless mechanical synergy. I study the holy schematics documenting the complex neural linkages connecting his sleeping brain to the towering dreadnought chassis. He floats, suspended in nutrient-rich amniotic fluid. This sacred liquid miraculously slows absolute cellular degradation while simultaneously acting as a conductive medium for tactical interface signals. But machinery inevitably degrades over 10,000 years. The persistent mechanical stress upon his ancient biological remnants demands dangerously long periods of deep stasis recovery. Our iron priests constantly monitor his fluctuating vital signs. Every rhythmic pulse from the heavy diagnostic cogitators represents a desperate struggle against inevitable cosmic entropy. Eventually, the glorious, roaring engines fall silent once more. The heavy atmospheric moisture immediately begins freezing into thick crystalline layers across his towering ceramite shoulders. He rests as a frozen monument to our forgotten pinnacle. We pray his ancient mind finds temporary peace within that icy mechanical sanctuary. Generations of brave Fenrisians lived and fell to ruin while he slept. His silent vigil seemed entirely unbroken by the spinning cosmic wheel. Yet peace is nothing but a fragile illusion within this unforgiving galaxy. The darkest shadows inevitably lengthen, reaching out to consume our brightest beacons. Even the impregnable fortress of the Fang could not hide from treacherous eyes forever. A storm of unprecedented sorcery gathered just beyond our sight. The treacherous Thousand Suns finally returned to enact their cowardly vengeance. The sky itself screamed as unnatural warp rifts tore the atmosphere violently apart. Crimson alarms blared through the deepest stone corridors of our sanctuary. The absolute sanctity of our majestic home was abruptly and viciously breached. Hollow automatons marched relentlessly through the howling blizzard, their soulless, metallic footfalls synchronized into a dreadful rhythm of impending apocalyptic destruction. Hazek Ahriman directed this heresy with a sickening arrogance. He unleashed torrents of cursed green fire against our unyielding adamantium fortifications mercilessly. Our valiant wolf guard met the sorcerous tide with raw fury. Storm shields crackled furiously, absorbing the punishing thermal shock of inferno bolts. The grand stone statues of our ancestors shattered violently into dust. Many noble warriors fell permanently silent, overwhelmed by the sheer arcane onslaught. Precious archives burned rapidly as corrupting warp energies flooded the lower levels. I watched helplessly as irreplaceable history turned to meaningless gray ash. In absolute desperation, the surviving Iron Priests initiated the emergency revival protocols. We needed our legendary father to walk among us once again. The frozen stasis crypt shattered with a deafening metallic roar. Ancient pistons whined in protest as the venerable dreadnought forced himself into operational readiness. He emerged from the chilling mist like a vengeful god of iron. That single crimson eye immediately processed the tragic devastation of his beloved home. Heavy rotary cannons spun furiously to life, shedding thousands of years of frost. The mighty internal generator roared, demanding absolute retribution against the treacherous invaders. Bjorn unleashed a devastating storm of mass reactive rounds into the mechanical hollow ranks. The heretical armor shells exploded violently under his overwhelming firepower. The vile sorcerer paused his dark incantations, noticing this unexpected colossal threat. Ahriman focused his terrible warp magic directly towards the charging ancient dreadnought. Unnatural green lightning struck his blessed ceramite hull with terrifying cosmic force. The towering mechanical beast staggered backward beneath the immense sorcerous thermal pressure. Yet his indomitable spirit utterly refused to yield. The ancient wolf roared through static-filled speakers, pressing forward tirelessly against the blinding storm of heresy. He shattered their chaotic barriers with pure mechanical mass. The relentless advance of this ancient behemoth forced the sorcerer to retreat further into the shadowed halls. Hundreds of inferno bolts impacted his scarred hull uselessly. Their unnatural warp flames simply washed over his heavily reinforced adamantium plating, like insignificant rain upon stone. With a single crushing grip of his power claw, he purged another automaton. Their trapped spirits scattered silently into the freezing air, finally granted peaceful oblivion. Inspired by their mighty forefather, the surviving Wolfguards surged forward fiercely. They raised shattered shields high, eager to banish the vile intruders from their home. We fought with the unified fury of a cornered beast. However, Ahriman possessed vast arcane reserves, continually summoning fresh horrors from the corrupted warp currents endlessly. A focused beam of pure, sorcerous lightning struck the dreadnought's knee actuator abruptly. The colossal machine lurched sideways violently, metallic groans echoing through the ruined chamber. Thick black smoke poured aggressively from his straining exhaust vents. Yet the mighty wolf refused to fall, driving his mechanical claws deeply into the shattered floor. He rose once more with terrifying, deliberate slowness. The ancient reactor roared louder, instantly purging the vile, chaotic corruption from his sacred hydraulic systems with extreme heat. His twin-linked assault cannons spun into a blinding blur of absolute destruction. A thunderous storm of depleted uranium shells completely pulverized the remaining hollow armor shells. Our brave iron priests defended his vulnerable flanks with heavy servo arms. They ensured the venerable father could concentrate his wrath entirely upon the wicked sorcerer captain. Sensing his impending doom, the coward raised the desperate kinetic barrier. The glowing mystical shield buckled violently beneath the unrelenting physical kinetic pressure of our bombardment. Bjorn thrust his crackling power talon directly into the sorceress weave. The disruptive energy fields violently tore the unnatural magic apart with a deafening, reality-bending screech. The vile ward shattered completely into harmless, glittering dust. Ahriman stumbled backward heavily, his arrogant posture finally broken by the undeniable might of Fenrisian steel. Our glorious forefather towered over the dark trespasser like an angry mountain. The dreadnought raised his massive arm, preparing to deliver the Emperor's absolute final justice. But the cowardly sorcerer cowardly utilized a chaotic teleportation ritual. He vanished abruptly into a sickly warp portal, just as the lethal crushing blow finally descended. The heavy talon struck only barren stone, shattering the foundational rock deeply. Silence suddenly cascaded over the ruined courtyard, as the vile, magical storm abruptly dissipated. He surveyed the devastated battleground with a single glowing crimson eye. Hundreds of silent, shattered enemy constructs lay scattered lifelessly across our freezing fortress floors, everywhere. The surviving space wolves immediately dropped to their armored knees respectfully. They bowed silently before the living legend who had just saved their majestic home entirely. Dark, viscous coolant fluid dripped slowly from his heavily scorched adamantium hull. The battle was won, but the immense physical toll upon his ancient chassis remained. I dutifully record this incredible victory amidst the smoking ashes. Yet, I wonder how many more apocalyptic awakenings his fading biological mind can possibly endure safely. The majestic halls of the Fang lay in absolute, tragic ruins. We surveyed the devastating cost of survival amidst the shattered adamantium and silent brethren. Countless noble heroes fell motionless upon the cracked stone floor. Their heroic sacrifices were etched forever into the heavily scarred pillars of our ancestral home. Shattered storm shields and depleted bolter casings littered the desolate courtyard. Every broken relic whispered a tragic tale of unwavering loyalty against impossible, chaotic odds. Our surviving iron priests rushed to stabilize the mighty dreadnought. They desperately patched severed fluid lines to prevent his ancient plasma core from overloading entirely. The venerable father stood completely motionless beneath the freezing blizzard. His singular crimson optic stared blankly into the howling void of the violent snowstorm. Heavy toxic coolant poured continuously from his deeply scorched chassis. He bore the unbearable weight of this hollow victory upon his towering, rusted, metallic shoulders. Slowly, the colossal machine was guided back toward the darkest crypts. Each thunderous mechanical footstep echoed with a profound, unutterable sorrow through the devastated fortress. Silent servitors cleared the heavy debris from his sacred path. The ancient warrior needed to return to his frozen slumber before his biological remnants failed. His crackling true claw finally powered down, plunging the icy corridor into gloom. The fierce electrical sparks faded away, leaving only the bitter cold behind completely. Massive vault doors sealed shut behind his towering adamantium frame. We locked him away once more, preserving his legendary soul in absolute freezing cryogenic isolation. Yet, as the heavy locks engaged, a disturbing silence settled. A chilling question lingered heavily within the darkest corners of my weary, ink-stained, scholarly mind. The flickering candle flame suddenly bent backwards against the natural draft. It was as if an unseen, illogical force exhaled deeply from the sealed tomb. What truly occurs within the shadowy depths of his deep stasis? Does he merely sleep, or does his trapped spirit wander forbidden celestial pathways unseen? Some radical scholars whisper that his mind slowly unravels in the dark. They claim he frequently speaks with the silent ghosts of the glorious past. Hovering servo skulls near his crypt often record strange, impossible static frequencies. These ghostly mechanical whispers resemble ancient Fenrisian dialects spoken during the forgotten Great Crusade. The protective ice rapidly entombed his colossal chassis once again. But does this frozen cage protect his fragile sanity, or merely imprison his restless spirit? Vital monitors continuously display erratic cognitive spikes during his long hibernation. His biological brain activity violently contradicts the profound physical stillness of his mechanical body. Faint blue runes pulse ominously across the sealed vault walls. It suggests a tragic internal struggle against the crushing weight of 10,000 lonely years. He is our greatest living anchor to the majestic Emperor's era. Yet, I fear we are slowly destroying him by constantly demanding his absolute salvation. Listen closely to the icy winds howling beyond the stone walls. Sometimes, you can almost hear a metallic wolf weeping silently for his lost brothers. We are a dying breed, clinging desperately to a crumbling empire. Every passing millennium strips away another layer of our former glorious celestial might. The golden light of Terra itself seems to dim with each passing century. Our enemies multiply exponentially in the terrifying darkness between the stars. Countless worlds burn, and our sacred records turn slowly to meaningless ash. We face a relentless tide of unimaginable chaotic horror, completely alone now. And yet our grand forefather sleeps silently through this tragic galactic decay. His ancient mechanical heart beats in slow defiance of our inevitable end. The Iron Priests whisper that he carries a devastating psychic burden. They fear his dormant mind wanders into realms we cannot possibly comprehend safely. These fading blue runes sometimes flash with sudden, unexplained, immense power. It is a terrifying manifestation of forces beyond simple mechanical or spiritual understanding. Some claim that during his deepest slumbers, the dreadnought unconsciously projects a spiritual aura. This invisible shield supposedly repels warp entities from our home. But what if this immense psychic exertion is slowly destroying his core? Are we selfishly draining the very last drops of his majestic essence? Even the mighty True Claw lies frozen, powerless against the ravages of time. His physical chassis requires longer, increasingly desperate periods of complete stasis recovery. I fear the day when he simply does not wake up again. We will lose our final living connection to the Emperor's glorious dawn. Without his ancient wisdom, our chapter would drift aimlessly into absolute obscurity. He is the foundational pillar holding up our magnificent, fractured Fenrisian legacy. The heavy ink flows like the endless tears of our fallen brethren. Every recorded word feels like a solemn eulogy for a dying era. Look upon the shattered visages of our majestic primarchs in the moonlight. They are merely silent stone, watching over a tragically ruined, decaying empire. Even our mindless mechanical servants slowly succumb to rust and relentless entropy. The entire galaxy grinds painfully towards an era of absolute, silent darkness. Our glorious flame is merely sputtering in the devastating cosmic wind. We are desperately shielding a tiny spark against the overwhelming, suffocating black void. My heavy task here is finally nearing its inevitable, melancholic conclusion. The sacred records of Bjorn the Fell-Handed must be preserved for future generations. I seal these tragic truths away within the deepest vaults of Fenris. Let them stand as a permanent testament to his unending, silent sacrifice. The guiding lights of our sanctuary are slowly fading into nothingness entirely. Soon, only cold memories and bitter frost will remain in these halls. We must brace ourselves for the incoming storm of unprecedented, total annihilation. The sleeping giant cannot protect us from our own tragic, inevitable fate. Rest now, ancient father, within your cold, impenetrable adamantium tomb. We shall silently endure the freezing night until duty violently demands your awakening again. Let the freezing winds of Fenris bury these tragic truths deeply. We are left alone to face an uncaring, hostile universe filled with endless shadows. His mechanical sacrifice buys us mere moments in the grand cosmic scheme. The encroaching darkness threatens to consume our fragile Imperium completely and entirely today. Remember his silent endurance, my faithful acolytes. He bears the absolute crushing weight of 10 millennia so that we might live to fight another brutal dawn. Do not weep for the ancient machine. Mourn instead for the dying galaxy that forces such magnificent heroes into an endless cycle of mechanical torment. The age of majestic demigods is entirely over. We are nothing but desperate scavengers picking through the grand ruins of a once glorious human civilization forever. If the Venerable One ever falls, our remaining hope shatters with his adamantium shell. The Great Wolf's legacy rests upon a terrifyingly fragile, icy precipice. Guard these sacred records with your very lives. The terrifying truth of his eternal service must never fall into the hands of vile, heretical traitors. The shadows grow increasingly long and incredibly cold. I return to the silent dust, leaving you with this ultimate, unwavering prayer for our doomed species. Hold fast your unwavering faith as the absolute darkness finally descends upon us all tonight. Imperator Gloria in excelsis Terra. If you enjoyed this grim dark journey into the lore, please leave a like, share this record, and subscribe to the channel for more grim darkness.